one of the most important questions you can ask yourself is what is motivating you? What are you driven by? I ask myself that question all the time because we would like to think that we are in control and our conscious awareness is enough and we have the full range and the information to actually make decisions. But everything that my own life experience has taught me is that's not the case. That is a fraction of the truth. You let me know in the comments what you think of this. What actually motivates you is often its own autonomous being. If instead, I'm going to put it this way. When I reflect back at the time when I was being a competitor in jiu-jitsu and I was competing every other month, it was every 2 to 3 months, fitness and conditioning, twice a day training regime. It was intense and it was all the time. And when I think back about what was moving me forward, why did I do what I was doing? Well, it was primarily a self-worth issue. I needed to validate myself through achievement, through success, and to have people see me in that light. To run away from the rejected aspect of myself that I felt that I was a loser and only worthy if I am either funny or win medals. And so that was fuel. But at the time, I was more so in the belief that I was guided by something larger than me, that I was almost called to do this. This may sound egotistical, but I don't mean it in that way. But in my own subjective experience, it felt like some divine calling that said, go in this direction. Of course, now, looking back, I was just hijacked by my complex and wasn't fully aware of what was going on and was just left at the whim of this force. And the reason why I also say it's a form of an autonomous being, because it was 6 years in, slightly accumulated, of course, but all of a sudden, one day, I just didn't want to do it anymore. Gone. Vanished. As if it was like an item that I borrowed. I borrowed the item, like I borrowed this, and then all of a sudden I had to return it. And it did not matter how much discipline, how much mindset, how much will you apply. You cannot bring it back once it has left you from that deepest place of your soul. And I fought myself for a very long time, because if you look out into the world, what do you often see? That is just more of a failure mindset, a loser mindset. You just need to stay consistent. You just need to kind of push through that pain. But there is a level of unhappiness that it is not for you to bear. And for me to pursue and continue that at the time, after it had vanished and left, would have made me absolutely miserable. Painfully miserable to my core. And so I had to change it and leave. And I want you to reflect on your life as to what was it that moved you? What was it that made you decide to do what you're doing? Because if we are unaware of how these things function, you are going to move years into something and then all of a sudden one day wake up and realize you do not want to do anymore. Now, does that mean all of us time is wasted? No. You've built a lot of skill. You've built a lot of knowledge. You've gained knowledge. You've made connections and friends. And of course, there are some good memories and bad memories. In the grand scheme of things, in the macro view of your life story, it all falls into place. But of course, in the midst of it, that's not how it feels. In the midst of it, it is absolutely miserable when you realize this is not what you want to do anymore, and you've just set out 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years of your life into it. An argument that I often make is, if we can just get ourselves to do anything we want, wouldn't we? If we were out of shape and we wanted to just be the most athletic individual we can, to just decide tomorrow to go and do it, because that's what you hear often, just decide to do it. And yet we can't. Or if you wanted to make $1 million and you want it, and yet it's not happening. We're not getting ourselves to do it. There's often a force of rejection within you that is saying, no, we're not doing that. No amount of ego manipulation, no amount of warping can change that. The world will be a significantly different place if we can genuinely choose what we wanted to do and actually stick to it long enough. Now, which naturally would lead me into the question of, if that is the case, how do we then understand this? How can we build a relationship so we're not just left at the whim of it? This falls into the category of more of a shadow work, self-discovery, self-awareness space. When you ask yourself, what am I motivated by today? What is compelling me to move forward? What is the answer you get? Is this answer related to anything? Is it related to a memory? Is it related to a rejected aspect of yourself? Or an ideal aspect of yourself, someone you wish to become? Where does this rest? And wherever you find this, is it in congruency with your ego? Are they in alignment? Are they in harmony? Because I will almost guarantee they're not. When your soul desires one and your ego desires another, you will be in conflict, and you're going to run yourself to the point where the soul will absolutely, it has an inner balancing mechanism. And it can allow you to tilt that scale in the direction of compensation and coping for a very long time. But at some point, it is going to absolutely need correction. And what can end up happening is it flips it on itself. So when you can have strong ambition, desire, motivation, encouragement to want to move towards something, and you bully yourself through that, you can end up one day with a flip effect where you're feeling, I should say, the exact opposite of all those traits. And so by finding not only where you reside, that space of motivation, that place of desire and need and want, it is also understanding, is this in relationship with your ego? Are they connected? Are they understanding one another? Are they in agreement? And what are they disagreeing about? And how much of that can you get into harmony? Because once you can get those two spaces within you, the ego and the soul, to work together, then everything will start falling into place. Does that mean that you won't have a change in direction in your life? No, but it'll be less abrupt, less rough, less aggressive. Remind yourself that the less you know about how you operate, the more at the whim of these forces that you are. And the more awareness you get of them and how they function and how they relate to one another within you, it's not that they all of a sudden lose their power, but what will happen is at least you will be able to have some sense of predictability. You can feel things coming up, sensations of change coming up, rather than just shocking you all together and then experiencing that state of suffering. So that's something I want you to rest on and reflect on moving forward a little bit. And I'd be curious to see what you guys comment down below in regards to your motivations and your desires and how they've changed over time, and what is it that you've learned about yourself after you've reflected. It is something I'm curious about and I'd love to read. Well, thank you very much, and I will see you on the next episode. I don't usually say episode, I say video. Well, again, the autonomous beings have their own direction to go. Anyways, take care, guys.